This is 10 Christmas decorations from easy to hard. Let's go. And this is as easy as it gets. These are literally just pieces of 2x6 that I cut at a 15-degree angle on both sides, and then you paint them or stain them. We've got the red, gray, and green ones here, a little set, and then we've got some red and gray ones. Then we did a nice stained one. I think the stained one looks the best. These things are just way too easy. Not much else to say about that. Moving on. Next up, we got the snowman ornaments. These things are also very easy. This is just a piece of scrap from a 2x4, so it's 1.5 inches wide. I think it's like 5 inches long. So then we just put a little tiny piece, another scrap across for the top of the hat. And I mean, most of this project is just painting. I mean, you've got that one, you can put it at a little bit of an angle. This one, we didn't put the hat at an angle, but I mean, all you do, you paint this white, then you paint this top part black, get some eyes, and then dots for mouth, tiny bit of orange there. And then this one, I put a little eyelet there. We've got, this is actually from a mask. We ripped this off a mask, that's why it's stretchy. But yeah, Christmas ornament, snowman. Again, super easy to make. Great project to do with kids if you have kids. This project is easier than walking in the woods and finding a tree. See what I did there? Woodworking, tree. This is a snowman. Again, different snowman though. Cutouts from a 2x4. The bottom one, 3 inches long, 2.5 inches long, 2 inches long, and then the top one's 2.5 inches long, and they're all 1 1/2 inch thick because they're 2x4. Pretty much as easy as you can get. And then again, you do the dots, you do the eye, you do the nose. Also a great one for kids. If you take a piece of wood, cut them, have the kids glue them together, paint them, great. And they kind of like, I don't know why, but I like this. All right, next. Now I know what you're all thinking. This is great, but it's 2D, it's not 3D. Never fear, we've got a 3D one here. This is, again, just a piece of 2x4, 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. Yeah, cut it down, square it up. This one's a little more complicated because you have to cut this 2x4 piece at an angle, and then you have to do this top piece at the same angle. I don't exactly remember. I think it was a 22.5 degree angle that I did. And then you cut out a little square on top for the hat, and you gotta glue that on. And then lining this piece up with this piece on top of this one, a little tricky, but you can figure it out. And then again, paint. Just gotta keep painting. Next. Again, a little bit trickier, don't freak out, it's still doable. This is a little tree. It's a white tree because it's a white Christmas. Wherever this is, it's a white Christmas. So here we've got these, the little triangle on top. I believe it's a 31.6 degree cut. I don't know why, but every miter saw has one of those. A little spacing in between. Then on the back, I didn't even paint it because I'm lazy. You got a little piece of plywood all the way down the back. And then you've got the little piece of plywood that are staggered there on the bottom. Kind of looks cool. You know, you get me? But I know what you're thinking. Gosh, it's cool, but I wish it was bigger. Don't you worry. It's bigger. I hope that worked out in the edit. Yeah, it's a bigger one. I mean, it's more complicated, it's more cuts. We put a nice 45 degree on all the edges, and then same thing on the back. Just a strip of plywood, not painted. Because why would we paint it? It's always up against the wall. Why would we spend more time on a project than we need to? I don't know, it's cool, it's a tree, let's move on. We're getting a little bit more complex. We have the upside down tree. Now this is an interesting project because it's like a tree, but it's upside down. Sorry, okay, it's a tree. This is a cool one. We did a whole video on this. I made a bunch of these out of a 2x4. And again, these are just angled pieces. The bottom one, a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, shorter. These are all 45 degree cuts, I believe, and then we've got the little piece there. This one is just a little bit more tricky because you gotta glue all those pieces perfectly flat so it'll stand on the table and it won't lean over. So, you know, it takes a little bit of time to get that right. I will say it is a bit more tricky than the last project, but don't ask me why. Next one. All right, and the next one you could twirl on your finger. It's like a basketball. I could never do that though. I always tried that, you know, with the basketball, but I can do it with the third hardest tree to make. It's just a little triangle tree, because trees are triangle, right? So we've got a 45 degree angle on this piece, 45 degree angle on this piece here, and then the bottom, this is cut to a 22.5, this one's cut to a 22.5, 22.5, 22.5, 22.5, 22.5. See, there's a lot of geometry in this. That's why we, you know, made it the third hardest one. And then you just put them all together. I mean, you're basically making a triangle. If you've ever made a triangle before, you can make this. And then you gotta get the little tree trunk, right? So it's like a Just a little trick. I don't know why I put this one against the wall and none of the others. Yeah, number 3 hardest. Let's go on to number 2 now. Number 2, it looks cool when you spin it. I know you're thinking, why is this one number 2? Because I had a lot of trouble with it, that's why. Because you've got this one piece in the middle, which is just a big triangle, cut it out of plywood, and then you've got these little pieces here on the sides, and these pieces came from a piece that was exactly like this middle one. So basically I made 2 of these middle triangles, and then you have to cut the center out of this middle triangle. I hope that makes sense. I'm confusing myself as I speak about it, but this little triangle here, you basically have to, what? What am I even talking about? So this little triangle here, you have to cut 3/4 of an inch out of the middle. So that was tricky to do, and then lining them up so it looks perfect on the bottom. You know, it looks like an X on the bottom. That was tough, and getting these 2 pieces glued perfectly there, perfectly on the edge of here was tough, and clamping it was tough. This is how I clamped it. And I just sat here for like 20 minutes until it was clamped. It was pretty brutal, but I think it came out cool and it looks really good when you spin it. So yeah, that's number 2, because maybe I'm just bad at woodworking and I didn't have an easier way to do it. On to number 1, another one to spin. This one takes a while to make. You wouldn't think it would take that long, but it takes a while because you've got this big piece here, smaller, smaller, smaller. Kind of the same thing with most of the trees. You start as a big one, you go smaller. All these have a 45-degree angle cut on them. So you gotta go over to the table saw, cut them all sides at 45 degrees, then cut all sides. The little one, little, you know what I mean. And then the top, the 45-degree on this one was really tough to do because I had to do it with my hand router, and doing this tiny little piece with the hand router, very dangerous. I do not recommend it, and I will not do it again. But once that's done, now you have to place them all together. So that's also a little tricky, believe it or not, because I don't know if you could see here, you've got this little gap right here that is not covered by the piece above it. So that happens with all of them all the way down. So it's all just guess and check as you put the glue on, and then you're twisting it so you make sure that the little gap that you can see here is exactly the same on all 4 sides, and it's never gonna come out perfect, but it's gonna be close. And then we've got just a little trunk, which I didn't paint. I thought, you know, it's a wood trunk. It's supposed to look like wood, and I'm making it out of wood. Can we be real? It's weird to make a wooden tree out of wood. Is that true, John? It's weird. It's a little bit weird.
Recreate a tree.
Tree from a tree.
You cut down a tree. Make a tree from the tree.
That's a little weird, right? If you really wanted the tree so much, just put the big pine tree in your living room, which is kind of what we do.
Just discovered a Christmas tree.
Right. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you liked it. We had a fun time making it. Yeah, this one was this was good. See you in the next one. But if you like that one, you can click right here to watch 100 woodworking projects that I made. Some of those are in there. And you can click right here to check out this really cool bench I made. You can make it too.